Hi, welcome back to my decorating series. We're going to go inside, return to the 16th floor, and continue with the ceremony site. So originally I was going to call this room a wedding chapel, and then I started thinking about the fact that I wanted to make these spaces feel a little bit more multifunctional. So although a wedding could be held in here of any denomination, I wanted to embrace the fact that it could be reserved for a variety of different types of ceremonies. So it may be a little odd to call it a ceremony site, but I'm trying to think about this as more of like a rental situation or something that you might reserve instead of I don't know. Would a normal home have a wedding chapel? I mean, I guess if it was a really fancy home. But in any case, I was trying to think of something that might be a little bit more appealing to a little bit more varieties of ceremonies and or ceremony types, I guess. So I knew I wanted to do a lot of windows. So the first thing I do, instead of walls, floors, and that sort of thing, is looking at the different types of windows and columns in combinations to see what will work together. I'm also pulling out flowers and benches and other things that I knew I wanted to put in this space. Those flowers, the big pink ones, I guess they're not big. They are kind of big, but there's a bunch of them, so the display is very big. But I also pulled out like the cherry blossom tree and some other very formal looking flowers and just kind of leave them out as I'm looking for the stuff against the wall, because I know that eventually I will start pairing them with the windows and columns and stuff like that. So I've also pulled out some things that I wasn't expecting to pull out. One of them is this little fence, because it's light up and it's kind of the right colors and that sort of thing. And I thought, well, that might be kind of interesting to play with. It does make the columns have to be pushed out into the room a little bit more, but that might be okay if I keep the room fairly simple. So I do mess with it here for a bit. I messed with these garlands. They are one of my favorite things to use on the ceiling. And I thought, well, maybe if we can, pull the columns out, I could put those against the wall. And so I'm just kind of fussing, experimenting with different combinations. Did decide on these windows fairly quickly. I mean, I kept the other ones there for a bit, but now I'm testing out whether or not I actually want to have the pillars out or if I want to push them up against the windows and eliminate the things against the walls. If I could have made those plants work without clipping, I might have done it, because their footprint actually fits between the pillars, whereas most of the flowers don't actually tuck in. And I was really wanting something that would tuck in to fill the gaps between the pillars without encroaching onto the floor. But nothing was really fitting. And the clipping really does bother me as much as I love those plants. It just was too much. Yeah, look at that. They were too clipped in there. So now that I've decided that I don't want to use the fences and I'm not going to pull the columns away from the wall, I can commit to trying out things in front of the pillars. And of course, some of the things on the ceiling do not play well with things on the floor. So I had to really consider what I wanted to do, if I wanted to use those garlands at the top or if I wanted to use certain plants on the bottom, because I couldn't use everything together. Like, I would have liked to mess around with that a little bit more, but if they won't work together, they won't work together. So now that I've decided on the windows and columns, I went ahead and picked out not a floor yet. I've picked out the wall. And I wanted to keep it simple, kind of classic looking, something that was neutral, that if someone wanted to come in and decorate to accommodate their particular ceremony, it could go with a lot of different styles and color schemes. And the only complaint I really have about that window that I put in the center of the wall behind the little book stand is that I really wish we could either move it up on the wall or that it was a little bit bigger, because it kind of gets I don't know, not swallowed by the amount of space, but kind of. It's just a little bit too small. It doesn't have as much presence as I would have liked. And so I went ahead and picked the red carpet. I really wish we had another color that worked that way. I think there's something you can do with the ones that you can do for, oh, it's not Dream Snaps. It's Touch of Magic. I think, but I haven't messed with it that much. So maybe when I go back and redecorate, I'll play around with some more Touch of Magic stuff. But because this is the one that really you can place down a long line and it all just runs together, that's the one I continue to use when I want to get that effect. And the red works okay in this room. And, you know, it's a formal kind of look. So I guess it's fine. But I wouldn't have minded having it be maybe something different in some of the spaces where I've used it. I also repeated the big fancy door. Yes, the big fancy door does lead into this room, but I thought that might work for kind of this big ceremony room. And it does look so fancy. I mean, I know I've used it a few times as of late, but it's so cool. It's such a cool door, and it implies, you know, not, you know, like hallways and less of a boxy feel. And I really like that for spaces like this, because you would expect to have a little bit more elaborate structure leading into a space like this, or like the throne room that we used it for, that kind of thing. And so I went ahead and just used it because it is one of the more fancy interior looking doors that we have. The other big problem with using this door, though, is that those fireplaces on the side, that is as close as I could get them, is all the way in the corners, because the way the door functions creates like these weird little glitched out sections. So if you put those fire things closer, you can see like some weird kind of outline that's created by the use of that door. So I would have liked them a little bit closer to the door, but doesn't really work out that way. Oh yeah, so now that I'm finalizing some stuff, I decide I need more light in here, and I kind of compared the blossom trees to the candelabras. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to find maybe a few more touches in here. But I've gone back and forth quite a bit in this space with putting a lot of stuff down and then removing it, because although I want it fancy, I also want it to be versatile. So I do end up trimming out a lot of the stuff I considered, because I want, like, if a person got this space, I would want them to come in and be able to feel like they could make it their own, but not have to put everything in. So basic components live here and they can change as needed. All right, well, let's go inside and check it out. So because I decided to do kind of a hotel or like rental type space for the top 5 floors in the build, I had to come up with some spaces that would be common in a lot of hotel type settings. And I figured a venue for a wedding ceremony or some other ceremony would be very fitting. And I thought I was going to make it a lot more ornate and elaborate. I mean, it looks pretty fancy in here, but as I was working, like I said during the process section of this video, I really kept putting things down and going, this feels like too much, this feels like too much, or it doesn't feel like it could be anybody's space. And so I'm kind of glad that I went back and forth like I did, putting stuff down and taking it back out, because it really helped me kind of dial in like the bones of what this room needed to be. So although it is pretty simple in the end, considering like some of the more stuffed rooms I've created, I still think it turned out pretty cool. I like all the different types of lighting. I like the fire, I like the flowers. I like these benches, even though the tone is a gray instead of kind of the off-white that's in the other stone, because they're magical. They actually have a little sparkle to them, and I thought that was a cute, like subtle touch to add in this space. So although in the end I didn't use as much stuff as I thought I was going to put in here, I think it still works, and it feels like someone could come in and make it their own depending on what they were using the room for. That's it for today's decorating adventure. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is a great way to let me know, and a subscription will keep you up to date on my latest shenanigans. If you want to hang out with me live, I stream on YouTube and Twitch on Thursday evenings and middays on Sunday. I hope you have a lovely day, night, time, wherever you are, whenever you are. And I'll see you next time.